Hello YouTubers, Troz here. This is a look at Opus Magnum, a new game by Zachtronics. If you've watched my channel for a while, you know I've played quite a few of Zachtronics' games, starting out with Space Chem, and played Infinite Factory, and some Shenzhen IO. This is a new game by him. It's based on one of his early games. It was a flash game called the Codex of Alchemical Engineering. In this game, you play as an alchemist who has just graduated from Alchemy University, I guess, and is off to start his career. I guess this is a alternate history. Well, maybe not alternate history, but there's the world alchemy actually exists and works, and they've actually created machines to help speed alchemy along. It looks like there's at least going to be 5 campaigns. I'm not sure how much. I should say this game is in early access. I'm not sure how much of the game is there. I got to the second campaign. This first one here is just a prologue, basically introducing you to the game. Maybe there'll be a 6th campaign, or I don't know if this is some finale. I'm not really sure how much of the game is there, but generally, Zachtronics games, when they enter early access, they're very complete and basically just looking for feedback on the interface and maybe the progression of the levels. So I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna skip the introduction. It's pretty good. Introduces you to all the concepts of the game. But I'm gonna show you a few of the levels. There's a story to this game. It's not really that important, but there is a story. Like, you get a letter of congratulations that you can read upon your graduation, and then there's some conversations here that you can click through and read. And then each puzzle has a little bit of text that you also click through. I already clicked through it, so it's all expanded out. But the reason I like Zachtronics games are they're open-ended. While this is a puzzle game, there's no single solution that's correct. Here your solutions are graded on cost, on cycles, and on area. This is sort of a programming game, but there's no instructions or anything. It's very obvious. You're manipulating robot arms, so you pick a symbol for it to grab something, to move, to drop it, move back. So it's all very clear and relatable because you're actually moving physical objects around. As so far, there's no if-then constructs, so it's all just create a set of cycles or commands that will have the robot arms do everything you need. So I'm going to create a new solution here. I'll come back later and show you the solutions. I should say that this graph here is everybody who's played so far, and the list underneath is yours and your friends, people on your friends lists. Right now I don't have anyone on my friends list who's played this yet, but hopefully in the next few days I'll get a few people. So let's open this one and okay, that's not what one of the things you can do, let me show you. So here's your alchemical processes. We'll start off over here. Here's the metals from simplest to most complex: lead, tin, iron, copper, silver, gold. And you can use quicksilver to combine. If you combine lead and quicksilver, which is another name for mercury, you'll get tin. And tin and quicksilver will get you iron. Iron and quicksilver will get you copper. Copper and quicksilver will get you silver. And silver and quicksilver will get you gold. Obviously, a lot of alchemy was about turning lead into gold, and here they've discovered the process. There's also your 4 elements. earth, fire, water, and air, and they can be converted into salt, which is the neutral element. There's also vitae and mors, which is basically life and death, but I haven't gotten far enough that they're used yet, so I'm not entirely sure how they are used. So that's basically all the processes. So here we need to make gold from lead. This is your lead to gold. So we start off with lead. So here's your products, and you drag this out, and this is like where you're gonna put your result. And then here is your reagents. You can drag these out, and this is where you get the elements. In this game, all the elements are represented by little glass spheres. Supposedly these are representing, you build a representation of the machine, and then internally the machine works with the actual atoms. So you got the products, reagents. Here you have mechanisms. These are all types of robot arms or things that work with robot arms. And then you have glyphs. And actually the one thing that I either missed in the tutorial or wasn't explained well is you actually can right click and drag this up to get access to everything. So we won't need it now, but you can put two elements on here and they'll become bonded together, kind of like in Space Chem how you could bond atoms, and you can turn these to whichever angle you want. Yeah, I should explain, if you are familiar with the Codex of Alchemical Engineering, is Flash game from maybe 10 years ago. It was grid based, where this is hex based, so that's a bit of a difference. There's some other differences as well. You have this larger bonder that can bond 4 atoms together at once. This is an unbonder, which will take 2 bonded atoms and break the bond. This will take earth, air, fire, water, and turn it into salt. And then finally, this is what we'll be using here. This takes... well, you can turn it around. You'll put your metal here and the quicksilver over here, and this will, once you do that, they'll increase or increment the metal to the next highest metal. So to manipulate these things, you have a bunch of different arms. Here's your basic arm, and you can put it down. You can move it. You can also extend the arm, so if for some reason you want it out real far. The reason to do that is a turn command will move it 60 degrees. So if you have it short, it'll only move items or the elements 1 space. If you have it 2 length, it will move it, 2 spaces or 3 spaces. But for now, we'll do that. Then you see down here we have lines. So line 1 is where we put the commands for the first arm. Line 2 is where we put the commands for the second arm. And here's all your commands. These are they're a little confusing at first. Through the tutorial, you're given access to only a few at a time, so it becomes clear. This is grab. This is drop. You can use hotkeys, F or R. Your QWERTY keyboard keys to pick these, or you can just drag and drop them. But like I can hold F down, and you can see I place that. So wherever you're pointing out, you'll get one, and then you can just drag it off to delete it, or you can directly replace it with another. So F and R is grab and let go. D and A are rotate clockwise and counterclockwise. So, it'll move the arm around or like that. And for the... you won't see it in this particular puzzle, but if you have multiple atoms bonded together, let's say these 2 were bonded, and instead of being like that, I wanted it lined up with the arm, E or Q will rotate the hand. You can see these like 3 grippers. They'll rotate around, spinning the whole element while still holding on to it. So that's Q and E. Now, there's a more complex arms. You can see this one has 2 grippers, and it only gets one line. Rotate will rotate both at the same time. When you grab, they both grab, whether or not something is there. And there's a few puzzles where this is more efficient, although as you can see, it's more expensive. Then you have your 3-way and 6-way. I have not used the 6-way yet. One nice thing about the game is if you have an arm here, well, let's say 4, and we're going to say, let's say, grab, rotate, release, rotate back, and we can step through that. And you can see it does that. And you're like, oh wait, I don't want that type of arm, I want this type of arm. You can literally just drop it on top, and it takes the commands and keeps the same number. So that's very helpful. So we have 2 things left I haven't shown yet. This is a piston arm, and this one, you can still put it in any position, but the length of the arm is actually a piston, so you can use the W and S commands to have it extend out or retract in as part of the command set, and that actually comes in useful in certain circumstances. One final thing you can do is you can make a track, and you can actually drag tracks out in whatever shape you want, and you can put a arm, it can even be one of the fixed length arms on the track, and then using the G and T commands, they will move along the track. You can see the 2 ends are labeled plus or minus, so plus will move it towards the plus and minus will move it towards the minus end. Then there's these last few commands down here at the bottom. Let me show you that. So if we go set up what I was doing before, do this number 3, grab, rotate, and then drop. Well, I don't even need it. Let's say we rotate 3 times. So it'll grab, it'll turn, and then drop. Well, if we want to reset, I could have it turn back, or you could just use this reset, and that will automatically turn into the commands to rotate back. The reset always takes the same amount of time as the actual, if you place the commands, so it's not a freebie or anything like that. Finally, if you noticed, these upper tracks, it automatically makes everything the same amount of commands. So if we had like 1 grab, let's set this up to what I'm probably going to do, and let's say we had to do the same thing but offset by a step. When I hit go here, you can see they fill out, so they're all the same length of 8, so everything stays in sync, because, well, generally you're going to want things to stay in sync, but if for whatever reason you don't, if you want this to only take 4 and then repeat, when that hits okay, you can't decrease it, but you can increase it if I want it to take that long for whatever reason, for timing. So you can do that, and this will repeat, so if you want this one to do it, well, let's do this here, and I need to turn those around. So you can see this repeat instruction copied the previous instructions. So you can see that works. Now there's a few rules. One, yes, you can't have atoms crash into each other. You can't pass an atom over the base of an arm, assumingly that's like a rod there and it's solid. But arms themselves can pass over each other. Like if I had an arm here, if I move this here, you can see that one passed over perfectly fine. So let's actually get to solving this puzzle now that I've explained everything for 10 minutes. I'm gonna move this here, and I'm probably gonna, yeah, we'll do that for now. So this is lead, and we gotta get it to gold. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quicksilvers. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quicksilvers, and then I'm gonna move this here, and you want to you're just setting before that you can set made a little mistake there because I changed the setting before. Initially holding down the keys doesn't actually place it until you also click, but there's a setting to change it so you just press the key when you're over it, and so not quite used to that yet, but this should work. Let me explain. So arm 1 grabs the lead and moves it over this glyph of projection. It doesn't actually have to drop it on there, it just has to be over. Basically for all of these, you don't actually have to drop the elements on them, you just have to have them over that location. So then we have 5 quicksilvers that get brought. I'm wondering if we actually have to drop the quicksilver. Let's find out. If I take that out, yeah, you actually have to drop the quicksilver. Things that look like holes, you need to drop. So you actually have to drop it. This is the output. But for the solid ones, and for like this, the glyph calcification, you just need to move it over. So let's put that back. So it drops the quicksilver in, and that converts the lead to the next higher element. And then we go back, grab another one, and continue to do that. That's copper, that's silver, that's gold, and actually I could have moved at this point. So we now can output this, but I actually accidentally waited an extra step. But that's alright. It's not wrong, it's just not as efficient as it could be. Now we turn, drop, and then move back, and we're all ready to go. Except, like I said, this isn't very efficient. But this will solve the puzzle. I can hit play, and this will just... go and go and go. And that worked. The cost was 60. My best cost was 50. This took 142 cycles. My best was 72. But it only took 7 area, which this is either my best or tied for my best. So let's continue editing. You did notice there is a recorded GIF. It will actually make a GIF of your solution, so you can post it places. We can improve this simply by moving it that way, one, and now you can see, actually, two, we can move it that way, I believe. So let's step through this until we get to the... So this will upgrade it as it's moving. Basically, the drop happens first and then the moves happen. So the drop happened, it upgraded this, and we moved it for a little extra bit of efficiency. So that's one thing we did. Alright, but now we still have to move this back too. So, what can we do to improve that? Well, one thing we can do is we can use this. It's more expensive, but I can now delete these two. So we saved 2 instructions off of 1 production, and we have to actually make 6 of them. But now if you look, we drop, and then we grab, and we don't have to move back because we already have an arm in the right spot. And this will work. Actually, I like how the game does like the first 2 cycles slower and then gets quicker and quicker. If something's going to go wrong, it's usually in the first 2 cycles. So we were at 142 and now we're down at 120. Well, let's see what else we can do. Well, that's good. Not as fast as it could be. We could use a second arm here. I know from experience that once the arm moves out of the way, we are ready for a second arm to pick up. So we can have this arm pick up, drop, and then turn back. And then repeat, and we can take 2 of these out. So we still have 5. This is 1, 2, 3 from arm number 2, and we get 2 more from arm number 3, and that means we can move this all the way back here. That should work. Yeah, I believe that will. Now, we're more expensive because we're using an extra arm, but we've cut the number of cycles way down. If I hit play here. And there you go. We've now... I'm not sure... I think we tied our best. I'm not sure if I don't think we beat it, but we at least tied it. I don't think there's a way to get faster than that with this particular puzzle. Let's turn to menu. So let's see. Yeah, it's probably an exact same. Basically, exact same. Just different layout. So that was my previous. Let's look at this. My first solution looked like this. So I reused the arm that moved the lead at first, and then had a dedicated output arm. Not quite as efficient, but this was like the first real puzzle I was doing in the game. Then I went for one with minimal area. So you can optimize these different solutions. That's why I like the game. You can either just get something that works, you can optimize it for speed, you can optimize it for area, you can optimize it for cost. Cost and area usually are related, but not always. So here I have a single double arm. If you actually really wanted to optimize for cost, you could probably go for a single arm and the same layout, but this worked out to be a faster. So you see we're using one side of the arm for moving the lead and the other side for moving the quicksilver, and actually if you pay attention they swap every output. Just because it's quicker, you save one movement by doing that. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward. One nice thing, if you played Shenzhen IO, there was a solitaire game. This has its own solitaire game, not card-based, obviously. This is, I was gonna say similar to the Windows Mahjong game from like Windows 95 or 98. But basically, you need to you compare the elements with themselves, the 4 elements: air, fire, water, earth, or you can pair them with salt, which is neutral. This is the bonds, the death, that can only be paired with life, and the metals you have to get in order. There'll only be one of each metal, or 2 of each metal. Well, let me just play this quickly. You can see here, you basically pick pairs and remove them. So here's the 2 earths we can remove, and that will basically, for, I believe the corners are always accessible at the start, but all others need to have 3 consecutive open spots. Their actual rules are, yeah, here we go. The goal is to clear the board by matching elements. You only choose marbles with 3 contiguous open spaces next to them. The 4 cardinal elements match with themselves or salt. These are. Vitae matches with Moors. This with, well, it's the upside down version of the symbol in white. I think it's like these. And the metals match with, okay, yeah, the metals match with quicksilver. And that exposes the next metal. So there's only one of each metal. But now, I don't really have much choice, but match that with that, and that with that. And then that exposes more. And there is some thinking, like, I got an air here, so if I use this quicksilver with, I was gonna say I don't have a metal yet, but look, I can match. This is the life, vitae, and Moors, so we can do those. And then now I have like 2 fires, 2 waters. At some point, I'm gonna have to make a decision about which of these to use on, or this one. And at that point is when the decisions become interesting, and you have a possibility of losing if you pick the wrong one. I've been told all games are winnable. It's just, if, alright, see that didn't do anything for me. Alright, I'm not stuck because you have 4 salts and they act as wild cards. But see, I have a salt and I can use it either with this fire or with this earth. I think I'm gonna do it with the fire because doing it with the fire will expose another earth that I can make a match with. And it exposed one over here as well. Match these. Match these, and there is our lead. But before I match that, that is the next metal. But I think I want this one so that I can then match this with this. And then I match this with that. That will expose more things. And I'm not stuck, but now I sort of am. Well, not sort of, but why didn't that expose you? Because I have to get this one first. Now I got myself stuck. Where is that one? That one's here, so I should have used this guy at some point. But, you know, if you make something that can't match, it will just... You can pull that up. So yeah, that's the solitaire game. Let's do... Did only one of these. Here's one where I use a track slider. So you can see we bond these together. I need to make this thing. And this comes forward, grabs that. We bond another one on there, and that's done. So we pull it back. Not the best, but pretty quick and small in the area. I'm not sure if that's the smallest area. Area actually counts any hex that you move either an arm or a element over. So yeah, if you like open-ended puzzle games, or what I mean by that is puzzle games that don't have a fixed solution, that you can come up with your own solution. And I mean, if you enjoy any of Zachtronics games, I'd definitely say get this. There looks to be lots of puzzles. You can see how many are in this first chapter, and in the second chapter seems to have just as many. And it looks like there's going to be 5 or possibly more chapters. I'm not sure. And it's in early access now. I guess for the next few days on Steam. It's $17.99. I guess it'll be $19.99 normally. I think it's definitely worth it. There's workshop support. You can make your own puzzles. I don't know if that's in right now, but definitely it was in his previous games. So it's if it's not in now, it's going to be coming. Yeah, so I think there's lots of gameplay and replayability here. You can definitely. I've spent time on multiple puzzles, you know, trying different solutions, you know, either going for small or fast solutions. And there's a bit of a story with it too. Not that it's the important part of the game, but it you know, just adds that little extra. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.